Hey everyone, and welcome back to Swift Guitar Lessons for another lead guitar tutorial. In this 4-part lesson, I'll be breaking down how to solo in the upper extension of the A minor blues scale. To fully understand how this works, I'll be breaking down some of the theory behind the blues scale and show you how to play it in 2 different positions as we track the first, fourths, and fifths of that scale. I'll demonstrate a little bit of soloing before breaking down the lick of the week, with all the tabs available for you at patreon.com/swiftlessons to help you with your study. Now, let's get started with your lesson with a quick demonstration. Okay, getting started with section number 1 of this lesson. Here we're going to learn how to play the A minor blues scale in its common position. This is very similar to the minor pentatonic scale that you may already know. However, this scale features the flat 5 note in the key of A. Now remember, every scale is created by performing a specific series of intervals. The minor blues scale is created via the following intervals: a flat third starting from A, a whole step to the 5th fret of the A string, it's a D note, a half step, another half step, a flat third onto the D string 5th fret, and then a whole step finishes up the octave. Flat third, whole, half, half, flat third, and whole step. Alright, and no matter where you perform that on the fretboard, it's going to result in a blues scale. Okay, so in the key of A, the resultant notes were A, C, D, D sharp or E flat, E, G, and back to the root A. 5, 8, 5, 6, 7, 5, 7. Okay, now let's apply that pattern of intervals to the 2nd octave now. So starting from that 7th fret D string, the A note, we go up a flatted third. It's the 5th fret of the G string. Next we have a whole step, a half step, another half step, but we're going to find that right here on the B string, 5th fret. Go up another minor third. Alright, and then finally we're going to go up a whole step, but we're going to find that on the high E string, 5th fret. Okay, and very commonly you can go up another octave. Alright, beginning with that 8th fret of the high E string, and that sums up the common position of the blues scale. So the entire thing, 5 to 8, 5, 6, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 8, 5, 8, 5, 8. Okay, now it's very important that you know where your 1s, 4s, and 5s are, because the common chord progression, like the one that you hear in the backing track that I jammed to in the beginning of this lesson, is a 1-4-5 progression, okay? And remember, these 1s, 4s, 5s, these numbers are referencing the major scale in the key of A. All intervals are measured via that scale, not the blues scale, not the pentatonic scale, that scale. Okay, so in this blues scale, we have the 1s on the low E string 5th fret, on the 7th fret of the D string, and also again on the high E string 5th fret. Now the 4ths are located on the 5th fret of the A string, the 7th fret of the G string, okay? And the fifths are located here on the 7th fret of the A string and also 5th fret of the B string. Okay, so the ones, the fourths, and the fifths. Just like that. So I'm going to target those notes as the chord progression changes. So if it was a minor chord, I might find myself on those roots or play licks that target or dance around those notes. Then the 4 chord comes in, D minor. I'll rest on a 4, okay? And then maybe the 5 chord comes in. To the 4 chord. Back to the 1. Okay, so that's what's going to give your solo a sense of direction, following the 1s, 4s, and 5s. We're going to do that for the next position of the blues scale that I teach you as well. Okay, great. Now you've learned how to play the minor blues scale in its common position. It's a movable scale pattern, so remember, if someone plays you an A minor chord, you do it exactly the way I showed you. If it was a C minor chord, move it to the 8th fret, C note. If it was an E minor chord, okay, and these will sound great over 7th chords as well. Someone plays you a D7 for a rockin' blues effect over major or dominant 7 chords. Okay, now section 2 of this lesson. Here we're going to talk about the upper extension. This is a great area of the fretboard to reach for during the crescendo of your guitar solo, especially if you can implement some climactic bends. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, it's very common for players to start their solo in the common position and then slide up into that upper extension, okay, where you can do some very big bends. Okay, so the notes that we have here, we're going to have the 9th fret of the G string. That's your 5. Okay, if you're following along via the PDF document at patreon.com/swiftlessons, that's the note that's labeled green. Okay, all of the notes that are labeled green are your 5ths. Next, we're going to the 8th fret of the B string. We're going to find a root on the 10th fret of that same string. Then on the high E string, we're going to have the 8th fret. All right, then we'll find a 4th labeled blue. That's the 10th fret. And then that flat at 5 note. Right there for a lot of tension. That's the 11th fret of the high E string. Okay, so that is what we call the upper extension of the minor blues scale. Okay? But really all it is just the 2nd octave, just a chunk of a greater scale pattern that you can play over 6 strings. Okay, moving into section number 3. Here we're going to talk about the A minor blues scale in the D-shaped position. This is where your pentatonic extension is coming from. So every scale can be played in 5 different positions on the fretboard. These scale patterns surround the C, A, G, E, and D positions of a given major or minor chord. Okay, that's called the caged theory or caged concept. The upper extension is actually just the 2nd octave of our A minor blues scale in the D position. Okay, so this scale is going to look like this. I'm going to start from the A note on the 5th fret of the low E string. See where we are now? We're right there in the upper position. That upper extension. That you can walk back into the common position. Okay, so that upper extension is really just a chunk or that second octave of another position of our blues scale, that D-shaped position. And we call it that because it hangs out over top of the D-shaped position of our A major or A minor chord. This is actually an A chord. This is an A minor chord. Okay, and then right there, you can see a lot of the notes that we have in that upper extension. Okay, it's not as friendly of a position as the common position, but it does yield some very interesting possibilities. Okay, so let's learn how to play that one more time. We have 5 on the low E string, going up to 8, 10, 11. All right, next we have 7, 10, the D string 7, 10, the G string 7, 8, 9. Then on the B string we have 8, 10, and we have the high E string 8, 10, 11. Okay, just like that. Okay, now let's determine where our 1s, 4s, and 5s are. Okay, and you can study this using the PDF sheet. So the 1s, we have the 1 here on the 5th fret of the low E string. Again, on the D string, that's the 7th fret. But then we're also going to have a 1 here, up in the upper extension. 10th fret of the B string. Okay. All right, now looking at your 4ths. Remember, they're going to be shaded in blue in your PDF sheet. The 4ths, we have a 4th here on the 10th fret of the E string. We'll also have one here on the 7th fret of the G string. Okay, so you can see that there's some crossover from the previous position. Okay, and then we'll also have the 10th fret of the high E string. All right, makes sense. All right, then the 5s, labeled in green. We have the 7th fret of the A string. All right, we have another one here on the G string, 9th fret, where we're always sliding up into it. Okay, so we have. All right, and another 5 could be found also here. All right, on the 12th fret of the high E string, but that's getting into another octave. Okay, so all the 5s again, we have. All right, so you have to really study that because it's going to help you a lot when you're playing over a progression. You know what chord is coming and you want to be able to respond to it. Okay, congrats everybody. You've learned how to play the minor blues scale in its common position. I'm going to recommend that you jam along with the jam track that I provided yesterday, a minor blues progression with a little bit of a funky twist to it. Practice looking for the 1 chords when the A minor chord is present. When the 4 chord comes in, find some of those 4 notes, okay? And then when the 5 chord comes in, I recommend you glide up, sliding into the upper extension, G string, 9th fret. Maybe you walk down to the 4. And then find your way back to the 1, maybe in the 2nd position I showed you. Okay. And you've learned all about the connection between the D position of our minor blues scale and the upper extension that a lot of guitar players really don't even know. It's just another position of the scale. Now we're ready to move into learning our lick of the week, which is going to encompass that D position of that minor blues scale. Okay, moving into section 4 of this lesson, our lick of the week. It's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3. Now real slow. I might use my fingers. Just like that. Okay, so we're sliding from 8 to 10 on the B string and go into the 8th fret of the high E string. Then we're going to grab the 10th fret of the high E string and hammer up a half step to that flatted 5th blues note. Pull back off to the 10th fret, and then go with a pull off down to 8. Then you're back up to the 10th fret, 8th fret, and here's the last little part. That was the 10th fret of the B string, 9th fret of the G, high E string, 8th fret, and then we're going to the 10th fret of the B string, our root. Now the root sounds good over all the chords in the progression, the 1, the 4, the 5, but especially over the 1, of course. So you're pretty safe playing this lick. Just like that, your lick of the week. Alright everyone, thanks so much for checking out this lesson on the minor blues scale in 2 positions and its upper extension. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much to my supporters at patreon.com/swiftlessons. I hope you're enjoying the extra resources, including the PDF study guide for this lesson. I got many more videos coming up, so keep checking back. Please subscribe, please share. This is Rob at Swift Guitar Lessons in Philadelphia, saying happy picking.